And JonHuntsman is one of them. He is criticizing this Republican strategy that uses a government shutdown really as leverage to undercut the health reform law. Former Utah governor and 2012 Republican presidential candidate JonHuntsman joins me now from Washington. Governor, it's awesome having you back on the show.
Thank you, Brooke.
Let's get right to it. I mean, I read how, you called some of these Republican senators who rejected this strategy. You've called them heroes. So my question to you, just putting you on the spot, what do you call these House Republicans who led this charge?
Well, listen, let's just get to the real conversation here. It's above and beyond just any one party or a faction of one party. What we're seeing play out, unfortunately, is a failure of political leadership on both sides. And the people who are suffering are those out in the real economy. And we forget at the end of the day, our focus ought to be on creating jobs and expanding the economic base. You've got people in boardrooms across this country who want to reinvest in the economy, who want to expand their bases, who want to hire more people, which is what we need, and in this very uncertain, naturally should be doing right now. So under No Labels, of which I am a part, we've come up with a Jobs First program. You can find that at jobsfirst.com, in which we're saying we need a truce. We need a ceasefire. Enough is enough. We need to, we're not going to have a peace plan anytime soon, but we can certainly call a ceasefire. And let's push this out until unemployment gets to 6.5%.
Governor, I hear you, and I know a lot of people, even some House Republicans who I know some of our folks have been talking to today on Capitol Hill agree with you, but we heard from the president, and it sounds like you're disagreeing with him. So you don't think that this small fraction of House Republicans are to blame here? You're pointing fingers at both sides.
I'm pointing fingers at both sides. I think this is a complete abdication of leadership on either side. We've gotten to the point where we've blown out the middle politically, the people who used to actually fashion deals and get them done at the end of the day. And right now, we just need a ceasefire. We need to create some space where both sides can basically say, okay, we're putting off any real decisions until unemployment gets to 6.5%, which will be sometime next year. That's important, Brooke, because the Federal Reserve has said that they're going to keep interest rates at about 0 until we get to 6.5% when we get off life support, in essence. And all the while, both sides can begin talking about what really needs to be discussed in this town, which is tax reform, energy policy, trade, and the things that are really going to create growth and jobs in this economy. We're not doing it now. We need to get it to a position where we can begin that.
But let's talk about these decisions, because before you can even really do that, we are up against this deadline of October 17th, right? So here we have, and you watch this political ping pong. That's one analogy people have been using, yesterday, and this game of chicken over the government shutdown. You fast forward, the deal 3 weeks from now when it hits the fan, so to speak, and the government could, hit the debt ceiling, run out of cash to pay for bills. How do you see that, Governor? How do you see that playing out?
Well, that's where this ceasefire plan would be perfectly suited, because you push out the debt ceiling until we get into next year, unemployment of 6.5%. Here's what happens if we don't. You think the government shutdown is a big deal, and we're going to hurt every day that this goes on economically. The debt ceiling is a thermonuclear explosion compared to a hand grenade.
Wow.
That's when we wake up October 17th, we find the Treasury has $30 billion. We then have an interest payment due of $29 billion shortly thereafter, and debt rollover the next month. And what is interesting here is we know what our expenditures are going to be, but we don't know what our income is going to be. Some days the Treasury brings in $3 billion as a low. Sometimes it brings in $50 billion. It's very unpredictable. And because of that, the threat of default is significant. And a default would be a horrible thing for the global economy and for every consumer in this nation, because it would jack up the cost of capital for borrowers and small business people trying to get by. That's something that we shouldn't have to deal with. We're the greatest nation on earth. We're the largest economy on earth. The whole world is watching this play out, and we deserve better, quite frankly, from our political class.
Thermonuclear explosion. I just wrote that down. I'm quoting you on that one. Let me end with this, because you as a member of the Republican Party, and I know you're not there on Capitol Hill, but what do you think is going on behind closed doors right now? I mean, who? I guess it's sort of twofold. Who do you think is leading the party right now? Who do you think should be leading the party right now?
Well, that's not for me to say. What I hope happens is that the Republican Party gets around to problem solving, because the Republican Party has always succeeded. We've always won when we put problem solving first and foremost. We're at a point in time now where we need to solve some problems and find not just problems but solutions. I put one on the table. We're the party of Lincoln, we're the party of Roosevelt, we're the party of Eisenhower, we're the party of Reagan. In all cases, we've had big, bold, inclusionary visions that have spoken to problem solving, and we can do it again. I have every confidence.
Okay. Governor Jon Huntsman, always
Thanks,
a pleasure.
Brooke.
Thank you so much.
Thermonuclear, don't forget
I got it. Got you quoted. Coming
no
up.
hyperbole intended.
Coming up.